Back in 1989, a young Indigenous woman named Alberta Williams was murdered. Her case went completely cold for almost 30 years. And then, one single, shocking email blew the whole thing wide open, pointing a finger directly at her killer. This is that story. And that quote you're seeing, that's from Connie Walker, the investigative journalist who got that email. You know, for her, this wasn't just another assignment. It felt like the story itself just reached out from the past, picked her, and demanded that the truth finally come out. And this is the email that changed absolutely everything. Just one sentence, naming a specific person for a murder that happened decades ago. Now, of course, we've had to black out the name for legal reasons, but imagine being the journalist who opened this. It was an explosive start to digging up a very, very long-held secret. So, the first and most obvious question is, who would send an email like this after 27 years of complete silence? And why now? Honestly, the answer to that is the key to this whole mystery. You probably think a tip like this came from some armchair detective, right? Someone with a pet theory. But the reality? Wow. The reality was so much more shocking. The email was sent by Gary Kerr, the retired lead investigator from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the guy who was originally in charge of Alberta Williams' case all the way back in 1989. And this quote right here, it tells you exactly why he did it. You know, for a career detective, some cases fade away, but others, they never, ever leave you. As he put it, Alberta's case was one that sticks in your guts. So even decades after he retired, it still haunted him. Sending that email was his last-ditch effort to finally, maybe, see justice served. But before we go any deeper into the investigation, it is so important that we remember who this story is really about. Let's just take a moment to understand the person at the heart of all this, Alberta Williams. Her sister, Claudia, said she was just fun, a lot of fun. Not just another name in a cold case file. She was the kind of person who was easygoing, who could shrug things off, and who was just a joy to be around. And all of that, her whole future, was stolen from her. Alberta had dreams, you know? She wanted to travel the world. She wanted to become a nurse, which totally fit her kind, empathetic nature. She was super close with her family and was always helping people in her community. Okay, now we have to zoom out for a second, because Alberta's story, as horrible as it is not an isolated incident. It's actually part of a much larger, much more painful crisis happening in Canada. Officially, the number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada is over 1,200. But if you talk to advocates on the ground, they'll tell you the true number is much, much higher. And every single one of those numbers is a life stolen, a family left broken, searching for answers. And to really put this into perspective, just look at this. Indigenous women in Canada are 4 times more likely to be murdered than non-Indigenous women. It's a horrifying statistic that points to a really deep, systemic problem. So, for the journalist Connie Walker, who is a Cree woman from Saskatchewan, this wasn't just another story. It was deeply personal. She understood the reality behind these numbers, and it's a huge part of why she became a journalist, to tell the stories that, for so long, nobody was listening to. So let's go back to that final night. We need to piece together those last few hours before Alberta vanished to really try and understand what happened. What's so chilling about her last night is just how normal it all was. It was payday, the end of a long summer of work. She and her sister were out celebrating with friends and family. Everyone said Alberta was happy, laughing, just having a great time. And then, in the chaos of the bar closing, she mentions a party. Her sister looks away for just a second, and when she looks back, Alberta was gone. Just vanished. The search ended in absolute heartbreak 3 weeks later. Her body was found just off Highway 16, a road that has since earned the grim nickname the Highway of Tears because of the sheer number of women, mostly Indigenous, who've disappeared or been murdered along that very stretch. So this brings us right to the heart of the mystery. With so many people around that night, how on earth did her case go cold for 27 years? Well, to understand why, you have to put yourself back in 1989. Forensics was a completely different world. DNA analysis wasn't a standard police tool yet. There were no databases, no computers to cross-reference witness statements. The investigator, Gary Kerr, said the entire case was basically run on pen and paper, which made it incredibly hard to connect the dots. But even without all that modern tech, Gary Kerr had a strong suspicion, a gut feeling. He didn't think her killer was some stranger lurking in the dark. No, he was convinced it was someone Alberta knew very well, someone she should have been able to trust completely.
And what's just bone-chilling is that Alberta's own sister, Claudia, felt the exact same way. Without ever talking to the lead detective about his suspicions, she came to the identical conclusion. She knew her sister. Alberta would not have gone off with a stranger. She went with someone she trusted, someone she had absolutely nothing to fear from.
And that leaves us with the most haunting question of all. The lead detective and Alberta's own sister, the two people who were closest to this case, both landed on the exact same suspect. So why, after more than 3 decades, has no one ever been charged? And why is there still no justice for Alberta Williams?